Hi guys!
Hi!
We're back. Thanks to all of you who reached out to us asking where are you. It was very kind, but we needed to get some wind in our sails.
And we did.
We have some nice and easy topics prepared for you this year, but don't get too comfortable. Mostly dance content, sometimes quite nerdy, as we love, or actually one of us loves. Guess which one? Simply because we want to share with you the best we have.
So today we are starting nice and easy, as Daria said. We are going to answer a few questions about how it is to work as a singer, performer, musician in general, and also as a music teacher in our countries and also in different countries in Europe or across the world.
The tendency that I see is that in smaller towns where I actually come from, it happens that singers tend to check more the price of the lesson than the actual knowledge and education that the singing teacher is presenting. So when the price for the lesson is quite high, they are like, yeah, the other was cheaper, then I'm gonna try with the other one. Of course, I'm not saying it's always like that, but I think that maybe it comes from the hesitation whether they are good enough for the expensive teacher or maybe because of the lack of goals. They simply don't know if singing is actually for them. And that is totally okay. In bigger cities, what I see is that people are more into looking for a better quality. They are not afraid to pay more. And the reason may be obvious. The bigger, more prosperous city, the bigger the salary and the opportunity to grow and develop. But in both cases, I believe that we should stand our ground and be aware of how good we actually are and that we can have a great impact on the singer. And I'm not saying it to be proud, but it can sound like we are being proud, but the CBT education is really amazing and it gave me and you, Tabea, so much to share that we know we're good, and not only for us, not only for our benefit, but also for the singers that we teach.
Yeah, we could definitely help them better. So in my case, in bigger towns in Spain like Madrid, Barcelona or Valencia, people value music a lot. They look at the quality first and then they check the price, but they are not very, they don't care that much how much it costs. They are rather thinking, is that person someone that I can learn from, how much experience does the teacher have and what sort of technique is he or she teaching. So they rather look at these things and, their goals. Like Daria mentioned, they have clear goals. Also there are more music jobs there, but we'll come to that later. Also, the living costs are higher there, so they are used to paying more for everything anyway. On the other hand, in my region, people want as much as they can get for as little money as they can possibly pay. And it's very annoying because they are rarely content with whatever you offer to them. But it's never cheap enough. So they are more skeptical. I don't know if that's sort of a mentality that comes from some historical events in the past, but it seems to be like that. So they are more skeptical and also they don't take culture too seriously.
Well, it's not so easy, but I think in every country the situation is quite the same. So let's say me as an artist, I want a certain amount of money per hour, which is acceptable to me, and there are many times that is accepted. But sometimes it happens that the person who is in charge says it's way too much. We can offer you, let's say, a half of it instead. Because what he or she sees is like 2 or 3 hours of singing. What is behind the curtain, for example, education, tons of hours practicing, sleepless nights are just invisible. Some people are really unaware of how much effort it takes to actually be a professional musician. Of course, it's totally different when there are music labels that sponsor a singer, but it's not an everyday situation, and there are actually many amazing musicians struggling and living hand to mouth just because they are not famous. So I really believe that we need to raise that awareness and that musicians and performers in general are worth being paid more.
I totally agree with you, Daria. I think there's a lot of unpaid work behind the scenes that people don't see. So when I've been asked how much do you charge for a wedding, for example, back in the day when I was singing more weddings, and I was like, yeah, I get this much paid. So people were like, what? You get so much paid just for 1 hour of work. Then I also want to be a singer. Oh, it's so easy. It was like, not exactly. I mean, it's just, first of all, me fighting with a priest to get the right repertoire ready for you. Then just singing it or playing it, because I was also playing the violin back then, just the way you want me to sing it or to play it. And then also driving there, rehearsing with a pianist or with other musicians and with an orchestra if necessary. So that costs tons of energy and time, and we are not getting really paid for it until we perform. So that is something that people should know. But I feel also that in Spain, the professional musicians are actually playing against themselves. So they are willing to get paid just really low rates, like 50, 60, 70 euros for one concert. And that's just not going to work. And, you know, they are, I don't know, they are even getting it paid in black. So they are not even getting paid the insurance. They are not, you know, they are not accumulating money for the rent. They are not doing anything for their future. They are just getting paid 60, 70 bucks for a night. And they play 3 hours. And that's like, oh yeah, I'm such a good musician, I'm professional. And it's like, it's not really working. And it's not worth that time. And then all the practice hours that you know, because they are good musicians, it's not like they are trash or anything. They are really good, but just all the practice hours that they invested in order to become as good as they are not even valuing them themselves. So I think it starts with us as musicians and performers, and then people will also take us more seriously if we take our job seriously in the first place. And then going back to getting paid in black, so with no insurance, with no guarantee for your future at all, I have seen really good musicians having trouble getting anything in return for their work when the pandemic started, because they have been just getting the money without, you know, in an illegal way. And when the pandemic started and they wanted to get the unemployment benefits, they just simply didn't get anything because for the administrations, it was as if they hadn't worked at all over the past 20, 30 or even 50 years.
I think it has changed in the last few years especially, but it's still not that famous in Poland. So I experienced two types of students: the ones who are in love with CVT, totally into it, believing that this technique is gonna change their voice, and the second type who comes and they're like, yeah, let's try. And I think I love them more because of their reaction of like, it works. Just kidding. I love all my students, but using those tips on people that were more skeptical and seeing that those tips actually work makes it very rewarding, and also proves to me that I chose the right education.
So here in Spain, they basically have no idea what CVT is. I feel like every time they ask me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, CVT, what's that? I mean, in general, they are not totally closed. I mean, many of them are still trying to desperately stick to old-fashioned methods. I guess a little bit out of fear, because, you know, all the new terms like curbing and neutral and overdrive and edge is just because they are not translated into Spanish, and they have, you know, a big issue with languages. I mean, I'll come back to that later. But I feel like they are, you know, it just sounds like alien to them. But then when I explain that it's based on anatomy and acoustics and everything, they are like, oh, okay, that's very interesting. And, you know, that it actually helps many people to improve the technique in a healthy way. And they are, I mean, they are open. Some more than others, but in general, and especially when they try it out, they are definitely, I think many of them are like, oh yeah, I have this problem, and that's because of me having this type of voice. And I'm like, okay, just try this and that out, and then suddenly they don't know if their voice type is actually what they thought it was. So it's very funny, because suddenly with CVT you have where, you know, the sky is the limit, so you have so much more to offer as a singer, whether you're professional or not, it doesn't matter. But suddenly you just break all those stereotypes and you don't think about, oh, am I this sort of soprano or not? Or I cannot reach the notes, so I must be a mezzo. Or you suddenly can reach them. It's just, who cares anymore? So people just enjoy the singing more, definitely, when they try it out.
Most of my students are not that into singing Polish songs. They usually choose English ones, and sometimes the pronunciation is a huge problem. People tend to overpronounce and it doesn't sound nice, but what we do during the lesson is that we try to soften the words and connect them so that they really fit into the melody. And to focus more on singing on vowels and not that much on the consonants, the singers are also not aware of the term support because in Poland it's not really defined, which leads them to some confusion, of course, and the tensions in their bodies. Some of the students are really afraid to be out of pitch, to try new things, to explore their voice, but I think it's a general problem with education in Poland. Teacher knows best. Always. Of course, it's not true, but you know, it's a problem here, I would say.
Yeah. In Spain, it's exactly the same. I feel like they have always that teacher in a high pedestal, and they don't realize that we can be so wrong sometimes. Even if we are trained and even if we try to give our best and we have good intentions, but we can be so wrong very often. But we try our best. Anyway, we'll come back to that in our next question. About Spain, I feel like people struggle a lot with languages as well. They have issues with the vowels that are not in the Spanish alphabet. So curbing vowels except for U and then all the edge vowels. So they have many issues with that. And same with the pronunciation, as Daria explained before. I feel like often they just want to do something different because they're singing and they want to, you know, just they spit out all the consonants and it doesn't sound natural. So when I remind them to just speak in pitch, then they're like, oh, it's so much easier. And it's like, yeah, I know. But I've been through the same myself back in the day. So I feel you. If you are at that point, I feel you. And then in terms of interpretation and languages, I feel like they should be maybe considering translating the lyrics of whatever they are singing, just to understand the story behind. And I think it also makes singing more enjoyable. It adds an extra to it, definitely, and of course to your performance as a singer. But also in a technical manner, sometimes the interpretation helps to just loosen you up a bit. So yeah, as we discussed. So it's definitely good to know what you're singing. And then also in terms of performing, which songs are you choosing to perform may depend also on the content. So just maybe take that into consideration. And then support is an issue as well. I think they have been trained in an old-fashioned manner, as I said before, for far too long, and they don't really know what support is. It happened to me as well until I started the CVT. Well, actually until I started reading the book of Catherine's book, Complete Vocal Technique. And still then I had many questions about it. But I feel like people are not really connected to their bodies. Sometimes, yeah, I mean in Spain they are a little bit more, but still often they are not really aware. And then going back to the pronunciation, when they are spitting out all the consonants, it's just not helping. The support is just completely gone. And then the third thing that people struggle with here in Spain is also connected to the thing with the vowels that I mentioned before. So in Spanish there's a lot of overdrive, and as a result of that people struggle reaching higher notes unless they are educated in singing properly. But in general, they struggle with that, and then they just usually tend to switch to neutral because it's easier and it costs a bit less energy. So, or neutral in falsetto especially. So, yeah, then they can have all the vowels that they want. But many of them, they also just hurt their voices, and when they speak, even because they're just pushing the overdrive to all the other vowels, and it's simply not possible.
Well, I mentioned already in the previous question, teachers knows best, which of course isn't true, but I have learned it the hard way. On my first ever singing lesson, I sang a part of a church song actually, and the teacher looked at me and said, "Now I know everything about you. You sang like you would be in a deep depression because you wanted to kill yourself, but the rope that you wanted to hang yourself on has broken. And now that's why you're so depressed."
Oh my god.
So, it's actually funny to say that. And I think I shared that with a friend. And she was like, "But did he really say it like that?" And I said, well, I am not that creative.
Yeah.
And I kept having lessons with that teacher. And now I think, why? Like, really, why did I do it to myself? And the answer is, I really wanted to sing. And I didn't want his words to stop me. But it shows, because I know I'm not the only one, that there is a huge, crazy huge problem with the weight of the authority of the singing teachers or music teachers in general. Of course, sometimes it's a matter of the personality of the students, that some are maybe more sensitive to what the teacher say and they feel easily overwhelmed by some words. But hey, it's the teacher's responsibility to create a safe environment for the singer to open up and find his or her way. Teachers shouldn't be treated like gods. They are also humans. They learn, grow, and develop, but what is more important, they also make mistakes, especially if they have a tendency to judge a book by its cover. A teacher should be like a guide that you can hear in your headphones when you're visiting a museum. You hear the information, you try to digest it, and you choose the ones that are best for you, but it's you who chooses the path you go.
Yeah, here it's pretty much the same. In Spain, people are still trying to please the teachers too much, and they sometimes even talk about them like, "Oh, it's my master," or I mean, it's just, I would say it's old-fashioned, but it even sounds a bit sick to me. I'm sorry to say that, honestly. But it just doesn't work. And I was not that sort of singer as well. I mean, I would maybe not say my master, but I was close to it. And it's what Daria said. A teacher is someone who helps you on the way, and you don't also hear this sort of mafia where you have your teacher saying, "Oh, you have to stay with me forever. You should never go to other teachers. They're all bad and worse than me." And it's sick. Just go to whoever you feel is more suitable for your learning type and your goals and your expectations. And then, just be happy with that person, or switch and try others if you want. Of course, maybe you shouldn't try out too many, because, I mean, there's, especially with the non-CVT teachers or the old-fashioned, I'm going to say, it's not like all of the other teachers that are not CVT are old-fashioned, but I mean, teachers that are not trained in CVT, they are often sharing too much of their own opinion. Like we do here right now, but this is our YouTube channel, so bear with us. If you're still here, that's because you wanted to stay. But yeah, so what I mean, it's in the lessons. In CVT, usually our taste is not really relevant. It's the singer's taste that is in the center. And I feel from all the other techniques that I've tried out and other teachers, it's just their taste is too important to them. And it's sort of an ego thing going on in the lessons. So as soon as you say like, "Yeah, I feel uncomfortable with this," or I don't like it that much, but but you should be sounding like that, and then maybe you go to another teacher and he tells you quite the opposite, because his taste is totally different. So it's not like there's right or wrong, but then if you have too many teachers, then maybe you get too confused. And if you're trying to please all of them, which is what happened to me, then you may get just too confused about what is correct and what is incorrect, and how much of that is actually just your teacher's taste. So just maybe get your own opinion cleared up first, and then go to as many teachers as you like. But but just keep your opinion and be a bit more assertive about it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's amazing that we are taught like that at the CBI. And in Poland, what I actually experienced that students are paralyzed when I tell them, yeah, but what do you want to do today? What do you want to work on? And they are like, oh, tell me, what do I need to work on? And I'm like, yeah, but you are the singer, so you can create yourself. And they are like, yeah, but you should tell me what to do.
yeah, exactly. So here it's as well, like, I don't know, like, what do you want to sing? I don't know, you tell me. It's like they don't have any initiative whatsoever. It's just, so I think that's why I also say just make up your own mind first, and then you can still go to people and ask them for singing advice. But just be the artist that you want to be, and then get some professional help if you need it, but be the artist that you want to be.
In some countries like Austria, Germany, Switzerland, or in the US, people are willing to pay more for a concert or a performance in general. In fact, Germany has always been the country that invested more than others, sometimes even 3 times as much as the US in culture. The problem is that many performers know this, and therefore more and more are moving there to get their piece of the cake. So it's getting almost overcrowded.
When it comes to teaching, professionals are also taking more seriously in those countries. Of course, some teachers are still struggling with bad conditions, especially when it comes to doing extra work in between classes, or for example, even health insurance. But I mean, it's still rather rare. But in general, everyone gets paid legally, so no black money. And the rates per hour are higher there in general. And also professionals, as I said, are taken more seriously. So teachers, music teachers are also more respected. Well, for example, in Spain, when people would ask me, what do you do for a living? Or back in the day, what are you studying? When I was doing my degree, I was like, yeah, I'm studying music. And then they were like, oh, and do you also do something proper with your life? So in Germany, that would never happen. And also Austria, Switzerland, it's rather rare to hear that. But yeah, that's basically, I think, a cultural thing and a matter of getting used to it. And as I said, if we are taking ourselves seriously as professionals, then people also do it after some time.
That's it for today. As you can see, in every culture there are some differences, but what's more important is to respect and understand each other in all the aspects. Of course, we cannot change the entire world, but we can, on one hand, be open and just, and on the other hand, also learn to be more assertive if that helps us to stay on the right track.
Please feel free to share your own experiences in the comments. We are very curious to know where you're from, and of course to know how your cultural background shaped your singing journey. If you've learned something new today, please give this video a thumbs up, and if our content has made your singing even more enjoyable, then please subscribe to our channel.
We're also back with teaching, so you're very welcome to contact us for more singer sessions. As always, we leave our contact details in the description below.
Also, we'll leave the timestamps there so that you don't waste your precious time watching this entire thing over and over again. You can just jump right to the point wherever you want to be and repeat the questions that you're really interested in.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We're looking forward to seeing you very soon in our next video. Until then, enjoy singing and have a lovely time. Bye!
Bye!